So the Detroit Three, which is interesting, it's General Motors, Stellantis, and Ford. These are the ones that are striking, and they've been striking for a while. So they said they can't afford to meet the union's demands because they need to invest profits in a costly transition from gas powered cars to electric vehicles. A lot of people talk about the electric vehicles. So now on the consumer side, with no immediate end in sight, the strike could also cause significant disruptions to auto production in the United States. So here's a rundown of what you need to know. What do workers want? What do people want? We see them striking, we see them protesting. Right here, what do they want? And you know what? They've been protesting for years, for decades. And how much of this strike will affect African Americans? We're going to do a story on that sometime soon. The UAW on strike, how much of a difference is that compared to the actor strike, the writer strike? Some people's eyes, that's actors, that's writers, who cares? These are the workers of the country. So what do the workers want? Here we go. Let's take this in now. And remember now, this isn't Fox Business. It's just your regular Joe giving you what people want. So your union, they're asking for 36% raises in general pay over 4 years. A top skilled assembly plant worker gets about $32 an hour now. Wow, so $32 an hour they get. In addition, the UAW has demanded an end to varying tiers of wages for factory jobs. They want a 32-hour work week with 40 hours of pay. So again, a 32-hour work week with 40 hours of pay, the restoration of traditional defined benefit for pensions for new hires who now receive only 401k, and a return of cost of living pay raises, among other benefits. So another caveat they want is that it be allowed to represent workers at 10 electric vehicle battery factories, most of which are being built by joint ventures between automakers and South Korean battery makers. So the union wants these plants to receive top UAW wages. Now they want this in part because workers who now make components for internal combustion engines, they'll need a place to work as the industry transitions to to EVUs, so electronic vehicles. And if you're watching out there, how many people have driven those? Do you really see an uptick in that? Well, no matter what, they're trying to make that. So it makes you think. Are you a GM worker? Are you an auto worker? I remember years ago where people would work at these jobs, make the air for like 30 years, they would retire. How much is it now that some of these places are there where you can retire? I guess it all depends on the benefits. So an interesting thing here, as I keep looking at this, top skilled assembly workers, they earn $32 an hour, as I said. Temporary workers start at just under $17. But you can also go to a McDonald's maybe and work literally $17. Full-time workers have received profit sharing checks ranging this year from over $9,000 at Ford to over $14,000 at Stellantis. So the people who kind of are against the union's demands, they say this is audacious. But they contend that the richly profitable automakers can afford to raise workers' pay significantly to make up for what the union gave up to help them in the 2007-2009 financial crisis. Do they have a lot of money? So over the past decade, the Detroit Three have emerged as robust profit makers. They've got money. They've collectively posted net incomes of $164 billion. Wow. $20 billion of it this year. So do they have money? They have money to give out. But what have the companies proposed? Now you saw what the workers want. What have the companies proposed? They say they kind of moved closer, but you know, as you know, with strikers, you kind of want everything you want, and the companies you kind of want everything you want. And I got a question too. So, if you were laid off or you're trying to find a job and you can't find a job anywhere, and these companies go on strike and they're looking for people, but you're in a union, would you cross that picket line? Hmm. Let's say that crossing that picket line may not be a good thing as far as the union is concerned, but is that a good thing for your family? If you can't find a job anywhere, but your principals are saying you can't cross that picket line, but then how do you make the ends meet? How do you make the ends justify the means or the means justify the ends? Let me know honestly if you've ever crossed a picket line to keep food in your house, or you said, no, I'm going to be out there with the strikers until we get what we want. I'm curious. Let me know. So the companies have proposed the demands of the union, they said, it's just too expensive. They say they will spend vast amounts of capital in the coming years to continue to build vehicles while at the same time designing electronic vehicles. And this building of the electronic cars, like I said, it's like the metric system. If you remember growing up, we didn't like the metric system, but they tried to make us learn it. And you ask a kid today, do you know the metric system? And they will say, well, we don't like it. And then we as adults tell people, you know what? Eh, don't worry about the metric system. You'll never need it. Maybe in a factory you do, but as a broadcaster or you're a politician, unless you're counting some illegal money you've gotten, as some politicians have, or you're counting the votes. Um, you need to know how to add, and the metric system just puts things at another level. So that's me on my number quality thing. So the unions again say that a lavish UAW contract would force up the retail prices of vehicles. So if they get what they want, that means the prices of vehicles are going to rise, new ones, and then also the electric cars. And are you willing as a consumer to pay that extra money? So Ford accused the UAW of holding up a deal mainly over union representation at electric vehicle battery plants, most of which are joint ventures with a Korean manufacturer. So the question is now, everybody's fighting each other. But in the end, will the strike cause car prices to rise? Eventually it will. Ahead of the strike, GM, Ford, and Stellantis were running their factories around the clock 24/7 to build up supplies on dealer lots. But they also put more money into the pockets of UAW members and strengthening their financial cushions. At the end of August, the three automakers collectively had enough vehicles to last for 70 days. So they do have a lot of cars. After that, they would run short. Buyers who need vehicles then would likely go to competitors. Now, these competitors going to be lower or higher? They'd be able to charge them more. So, no matter what, if this strike isn't solved, you're going to be paying high costs for cars. Vehicles, you go back a couple of years, they were already scarce when compared with the years before the pandemic, which took off a global shortage of cars. Now, today, the strike's impact is not just being felt on car lots across the country. It'll probably take a few weeks before we see any significant shortage of new vehicles. Wow, prices could raise even sooner if the prospects of a strike triggers panic buying. So people go out there and start panicking and getting cars. It's going to go up more. So current offers on the table from the companies will also add $3,000 to $5,000 to the cost of an average electric vehicle that will be passed on to consumers. These electric vehicles, how good are they? But could this strike really hurt the economy? Yes, it could. In different parts of the country, the Midwest, where most auto plants are concentrated, it's going to hurt. The auto industry accounts for about 3% of the U.S. economy's gross domestic product, its total outlet of goods and services. And Detroit represents about half Wow. So during walkouts, workers are set to receive about $500 a week in strike pay. That's not a lot of money, man, far short of what they earn while they're working. As a result, millions of dollars of wages would be removed from the economy. So you don't have a lot of money going into the economy. The automakers would be hurt too. So go back during a 40-day UAW strike in 2019, for example, GM lost $3.6 billion. Man. Now, which side has the advantage? The union or the strikers? Hmm. The strikers want more money. The unions don't want to give them more money. Who has the advantage? It's kind of hard to say. The companies have plenty of cash, as I've said, to withstand a strike. The union strike fund, think about this, was worth $825 million before September 14th. But it would be depleted in less than 3 months. All of that money, which is $825 million. And did I say million or did I say billion? Let's say this again. $825 million. So when that money runs out, then they're going to be hurting. Okay. So the union's inability to organize U.S. factories run by foreign automakers, it represents a disadvantage for the union because these companies pay less than Detroit companies do. A lot of strikes this year. So far this year, 247 strikes have occurred involving 341,000 workers, the most since Cornell University began tracking strikes in 2021, though still well below the numbers during the 1970s and 1980s. So, did I explain this enough to you? Are you still going to go to Fox Business News and anything else involving the financial news? Well, if I was you, I would do that. But we've given you a little bit about the UAW strike. And is there a yes or no? I don't think there is, but for the strikers who are lacking and they only want more, they don't want to make as much as the millionaires and the owners, which would be nice. They just want to make enough to keep up with the cost of living. Too many strikes. Which presidential candidates are promising to get us out of this mess? And when there's a president running, the UAW, they support that president. We have Biden running, and you have all the other presidents running. Which ones are the automakers going to support? And which presidential candidates are running to help these strikers? And then also, how is this going to hurt African Americans? We're going to do that on another show. If you have any questions or comments, what we just talked about, you can email yours truly, parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can text me, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718, as we wake up everybody and explain the news to me.